Marissa, take us to the moment the judge made his decision, life without parole for this 16-year-old self-admitted school shooter.
Yeah, Cheryl, Faith, this certainly went quicker than we were expecting, really just an hour and a half here until the judge handed down that sentence. And he did not mince words, saying that he understood that Colt's parents, Marcy and Colin, both failed him, even admitting that society may have failed Colt in many aspects, but saying, and I want to quote and read this here, that failure does not absolve you from who you chose to idolize, worship, and become. The judge saying he did this for the infamy of it. He did not believe any words of remorse. Really just a heavy packed courtroom in there. I've been getting updates from Grace King, who is inside that courtroom right now as that was delivered. I'm obviously standing outside Barrow County Court as we wait and cover team coverage on this. Team coverage on this sentence. This is just really an impactful moment for all of the people. We could audibly hear some of the reaction in that courtroom, as I'm sure, Cheryl and Faith, you could, just from some of the people sitting in there. The microphones are able to pick some of that up. Again, the judge did not mince words, comparing, as you both said, two previous school shooters that throughout the last few days, Colt himself has showed that he idolized, including Nicholas Cruz. And of course, we know that that shrine to Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter down in Florida, that is the shrine that was found in Colt Gray's bedroom the day of the shooting, when investigators went in and were able to see this on his bedroom wall. So very, very impactful moments. This is exactly what the prosecution was hoping for today in those closing arguments that we heard earlier, both very short. The prosecution saying that he simply did not deserve to be out in society and it wasn't safe for society. The defense was obviously hoping for the opposite, for parole to be on the table at some point in Colt Gray's future. But now we know that will no longer happen. There is no possibility of that, no possibility of parole.
Marissa, you have been listening to extensive testimony over almost 3 days. The judge even acknowledging some of the testimony from a psychologist, saying, yes, this was a 14-year-old at the time of the shooting, failed by his parents, influenced in dark chat rooms online, these true crime chat rooms, instead of having real relationships, but then said did not absolve him from idolizing and then following in the footsteps of what he said was evil. Will you point out what you felt were the moments maybe that were most impactful in the testimony you've heard leading up to the decision we just heard from the judge?
That forensic psychologist, I think, Cheryl, that you just mentioned was pivotal in all of this. The forensic psychologist was brought actually by the defense. So for him to get on the stand, testify for hours that he did not believe Colt Gray suffered from many of the things he was telling people he suffered from. Schizophrenia, mania, all of these, psychosis. The forensic expert by that defense attorney, brought by the defense, was actually just saying that he suffered from anxiety and depression like every other 14-year-old. I am being told by the producers that we do have that sound from the judge, so I'd like you to take one more listen to that.
You broke it down step by step in visualizing what you were going to do. The thought of mimicking these other mass murders is what brought you joy. You know, for the rest of us, there is no joy here today. There's only a measure of closure. The slain will not return to life. The injured will not forget their wounds, and a 16-year-old boy will live and die in prison.
And the judge also making a few quotes from Colt Gray himself over the last few days, including, "I want to make history and I want people to remember the pain I caused." The judge wrapping up by saying, "There, you succeeded." Cheryl, Faith.
Marissa, thank you so much for bringing that to us. Do we have time to ask her another question?
Yeah.
We do. Okay, Marissa, I want to ask you about just the reaction in the room from the families. Oftentimes, we see these mass shootings, and I mean, it was even evident that Colt idolized the shooters. right? But we don't hear much about the families after this happens. The shooters become these celebrities. I want to put more focus on the families, on the victims. What was the feeling? And I think for some people, okay, it's obvious, but can you really just paint a picture of the emotion that was going through those family members and the friends and family of those victims that were in the courtroom?
Faith, I can tell you for the last few days, on that first day on Friday in court, we heard from those victim impact statements. So we heard from many of these families. Just now, I have been stationed outside of Barrow County Superior Court, so I was not in the courtroom. I could hear what you guys could hear, which was the audible reaction through the microphone that we were picking up even from the judge. We could hear it from the galley there of people sitting in that courtroom taking all of this in. And it sounds like we have the district attorney who just received this win here, life without parole. We're going to take it live right now for you inside the courtroom.
Basically, that he had he was the custodial parent of the child. He had knowledge that the child had this danger about him, and he provided the firearm for the child. And because of that, we were able to prove that he was the proximate cause or a proximate cause of what happened at Apalachee. The mother does not fit that bill as far as she did not have custody. In the 2 years leading up to the shooting, she actually was only around the child physically about 3 months in the 2 years total. And she did not have custody of him. It was actually removed from her, and she was actually barred from being in Barrow County, so she wasn't even supposed to be up here. And she did not provide him with a firearm. She took some steps, not many, but some steps to actually have the firearms removed or ask the father to do that. So we don't believe we have the ability under the proximate cause of Georgia to charge her with what happened at Apalachee. The other crimes that she may or may not be guilty of would be probably outside of our jurisdiction here in Barrow County, or would entail Colt Gray being the victim. And I don't know that I have the stomach for a trial where Colt Gray is the victim.
Coming earlier before his son. Who ultimately makes that decision? Usually that's up to prosecution. How did that decision come about?
No, ma'am.
The father
No, ma'am. Prosecution doesn't get to pick when trials go. It was a natural flow of things. Both of them were in custody. Whenever someone's in custody, the court will try and push that one to the front because they're in custody awaiting a trial. So both of them were in custody. We could tell that early on that Colt's attorney was looking at the psychological angle and was trying to get a psychiatrist or psychologist to look at him and do an evaluation of him, and it was taking time. So every time the court would check in on the attorneys as to what's the status, what are things going, the state was always, we're ready. Collins' attorneys were always, we're ready, and Colt's attorneys were always, we're waiting on this, we're waiting on that. So it just became apparent to us. It wasn't anything official, but it became apparent. We could tell that it was going to inevitably end that way.
Would you be ready for any possible appeal on the part of the father? That confession, taped confession, was never able to be played during his trial. Would you, if he were to appeal, would that be something you're honest?
No, the theory of guilt for Colt Gray was what he knew of the threat Colt posed. So everything we presented at his trial was his knowledge of the danger that Colt posed. The stuff that came here was not introduced at his trial because we could never show that he knew these things. So it was not part of his theory of guilt. But the jury found that based on what he did know and what we could prove he knew, that was sufficient, that he should have taken that gun away.
What's the message? I saw you talking to the family members. What's the message that you shared with them?
I can't say anything to the family members. This is not a happy day. This is a relief day, I would say. But like I said in my closing, the depths of their loss I can never comprehend. We just hope that we've done honor to them. We've done honor to their loved ones in the work that we put forward, and that's all we can do.
Determine what you want Colt to take away from this, and kind of what you said in closing argument.
What do I want Colt to take away from this?
We're hearing from a member of the district attorney's office there in Barrow County, answering a question about why charges were pursued against Colt Gray, the father. Of course, it's because he provided the weapon. He will be sentenced later this week. The mother had also been a big part of the testimony in the last couple of days. And as he alluded to, and is forefront in all of our minds this afternoon, at the center of this all, the 4 victims, 2 students, Christian Angulo, Mason Shermer-Horn, and 2 teachers, Richard Ricky Aspinwall and Christina Irami, lost their lives in that shooting. Several others were injured, and countless people impacted who loved them, knew them, and this community will never be the same.